throwing lies into your face and hoping that they just stick into your stupid mind and, you know, that you start spewing the same rhetoric as them. Welcome back. Be sure to subscribe. Let's get right to it. First topic. So Canada elected the Liberal Party leader Mark Carney as their new Prime Minister. And here's a quick clip showing a little of what he's about.
Skepticism about ESG labels or sustainable labels. And that, again, is one of the reasons we're having this ruthless, relentless focus on net zero. Because in the end, look, we can't stabilize the climate unless we get to net zero. And it's a simple, these are hard numbers. Your emissions are either A or B. They're going up or down. And if they're going down, are they going down consistent with the science? We anchor it in the science, the same science the UN and others use for the 1.5 degree objectives.
Whew, Canada, I hope it works out, but whew, with that guy, who knows? Now, I was on X doing a little scrolling last night. A lot of people are saying Canada's doomed, and a lot of people are blaming Trump for this guy getting elected. Now, Canada, if you're voting based on Trump in Canada, you know, sure, he wants the 51st state. He wants the Canada land grab. It'll probably happen, especially after this. But you gotta have your own election where it's not swayed by, you know, America. But see, that's the thing. America, we don't really care about Canadian politics unless they're doing stuff like freezing people's bank accounts. Then we basically have to get involved and say just how insane it is. But, like, we're never gonna let the Prime Minister of Canada say something that's gonna affect our election, right? Because that's just... At that point, you may as well just become the 51st state because you're basically letting Trump run the show already, right? And honestly, Canadians usually can't stand me. Every time I get a comment from a Canadian, they're just telling me how dumb I am and how I don't know anything about Canada. But they're usually the liberal people who just spit out that type of rhetoric all the time. And I'll admit, I don't care about Canadian politics. And frankly, when they become the 51st state, I'm going to welcome them with open arms because I'm rooting for Canada. I really am. And I like Canadians, and I think they would make great Americans if and when the time comes. But all right, let's get to the next topic. So Rachel Maddow just completely spewed a ton of lies when talking about Trump's first 100 days in office. Go ahead, take a look at the clip.
So it's all bad for Trump in terms of the public just soundly rejecting everything he's doing, even the stuff that he says just for political effect. It's having the opposite political effect that he intends. I don't know that we have ever seen another first 100 days from any president this roundly rejected and hated by the American people. And as I said, correlation is not causation. Things happening together doesn't necessarily mean that one of those things caused the other one to happen. But on the day we've got on the front page of the New York Times, voters sour on Trump. Americans think Trump is overreaching in his use of power. On the day, that is the news on Donald Trump. What does Trump do? He arrests a judge. He arrests a judge. And we're going to talk with Congressman Jamie Raskin about this in just a moment. But if you want to talk about a portrait of desperation, show me the political leader who is just flipping the table over, just pulling the pin on the grenade and rolling it into the room. Show me the elected leader who has decided to start arresting judges to see what happens.
Yeah, so did you hear one thing come out of her mouth that was actually, like, the truth or, you know, not just some bitter opinion towards Trump? Like, I love how you can just go on some sort of network like MSNBC that's claiming to be some sort of news network and journalist and, like, they have integrity, and then you get that type of crap. You know, you get Rachel Maddow just going on spewing nothing but lies, just telling the world that he's doing terrible. And nobody likes him. And he's just, everything's just so bad and America's destroyed. You know, it's like, lady, nobody believes your bullshit anymore. And we just all think that you hate America. Let me know if you think Rachel Maddow and MSNBC hate America, because obviously it's like, how could they not at this point? When they're just going on there and telling America nothing but lies just to push their agenda, I don't get it, you know? You either hate America or you just don't care to have any sort of integrity or any sort of, you know, journalistic standard anymore. And journalism is basically dead. I've said it before, journalism is dead. The only real journalists in today's world are the quote-unquote conspiracy theorists who actually want to get to the bottom of something, right? Other than that, you get people like Rachel Maddow just throwing lies into your face and hoping that they just stick into your stupid mind and, you know, that you start spewing the same rhetoric as them. But all right, let's get to the next topic here. So the White House did a completely savage thing and put up yard signs in the White House lawn showing the illegals they've arrested. Go ahead, take a look at the clip.
White House has put up about 100 posters of what they say are unauthorized immigrants who have been arrested for violent crimes. You can see them there. They put them up on the driveway of the White House. If you look here, that's the West Wing just at the forefront, the executive mansion itself to the left. But what's particularly noteworthy about this location is it is right directly behind the positions where TV correspondents do their hits from the White House lawn. So therefore, no matter what network you're on, that includes MSNBC, if you're doing a hit from the White House right now, those pictures will be behind you. The White House doing a briefing in about a half hour about what they're doing here.
Yeah, isn't it just hilarious how savage this White House is? I mean, whoever Trump has working in this White House doing these ideas of just sticking everything in the media's face just so they have to deal with it. Like, how genius is that? Putting them on the lawn right behind the media tents where they gotta put it on TV, these signs of these illegals, you know, who have been arrested. And CNN, they tried blurring out the faces of the signs. Of course they did, right? Because CNN, they don't want to show anything real, right? If it's real, they're not going to show it, which those are real, you know, the guys, these illegals getting arrested and their crimes, it's pretty, the fact that it has to be done, you know, that yard signs of showing illegals arrested need to be put on the White House lawn just so people know and it gets out there in the news cycle. Like, they basically had to force them to show it on their news programs just so... It's just a great savage moment from Trump. The guy is just winning everywhere he goes, you know, and just everything he does is a pure win. This is just another win, right? Another win, just sticking it to the media. It's his favorite thing to do, to stick it to the media, I would assume these days, you know, because since he's pretty much, you know, gotten dialed in the presidency, everything is, you know, flowing, all the stuff he wanted to do is going. So now it's just basically, I'm sticking it to the media. And I love to see it, and I'm pretty sure you love to see it as well. But all right, let's get to the next topic. So Governor J.B. Pritzker, the Illinois governor, let me know if you think he's calling for violence here. Go ahead, take a look at the clip.
In the times upon which history turns. Never before in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruption, but I am now. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. They have to understand that we will fight their cruelty with every megaphone and microphone that we have. We must castigate them on the soapbox and then punish them at the ballot box. They must feel in their bones that when we survive this shameful episode of American history with our democracy intact, because we have no alternative but to do just that, that we will relegate their portraits to the museum halls reserved for tyrants and traitors.
Yeah, so let's be real. If a Republican governor goes out and says the exact same thing, the guy's probably going to be forced to resign and, you know, charged with inciting an insurrection. But, you know, the Democrat governor goes out and does it, and it's cool. You know, it's just the cool thing to do. Like, yeah, no, like, of course we need to get out there and mobilize. It's like, if you're calling for mobilizing, you're basically calling for riots, like BLM type riots, and that's exactly what they want, right? I feel like they're trying to start some sort of race war these days, and it's just, things are just brewing, you know, and it's people like this calling for these types of things, definitely calling for violence, who are just making it so, you know, that they're just facilitating this type of, you know, civil war in America of people fighting each other, and they're not calling for peace, right? Why can't they just call for peace and, you know, say, hey, you know, why don't we just try to get along, right? But instead, they call for violence, like Pritzker here. But all right, that's it for today. Be sure to like, subscribe, and we'll be seeing you.